Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. In Hasidic circles, we'll say a good Yom Tov today because it's the day we celebrate continuous from yesterday, the Rosh Hashanah, the founding of the Hasidic philosophy and the Hasidic way of life and the esoteric and deeper meaning of Torah that it brought to our lives. So very often when I'm flipping through my Facebook social media, you get these advertisements from companies. And yesterday, I was seeing my feed, my Facebook feed, and I saw this advertisement from a company. And it said, what age do you want to retire on? And it kept on flipping, 73, 72, 70, 70, 68. And it was trying to get you to click on an app. It was a financial company that wanted to get you to click on an app and say, hey, if you want to retire at this age, this is how much you have to save, and we'll help you save. Fine. Great gimmick. Got me to click on it, but I did not download the app because it's never ending with these apps. But it got me thinking. I once recommended a book from the Rebbe, Towards a Meaningful Life, written by Rabbi Simon Jacobson. And there he articulates in a very profound way, the Rebbe's idea that a Jew never retires and there is no such a thing as retirement. And the reason why we're brought to this world is to do, and every moment we have is a moment that we could act and make a difference. And, it's the American dream, is retirement. Everyone imagines, when are they going to retire? What are they going to do? Which place and resort are they going to be at, and what type of life they're going to live when they retire, and which books they're going to read, and what beaches they're going to visit, and what historic places they're going to be at. But in this week's Torah portion, we begin the Torah portion with a very fascinating story. It's a story of Jacob, who had a challenging life, full of struggles and obstacles constantly. First, it was a story with Esau trying to kill him, and he ran away, and he hid for 20 years by Lavan, who abused him and took advantage of him. And then he had to run away from Lavan, and then he encounters Esau again. And then he has the story of Dinah, where his only daughter is violated. The man has trouble after trouble his entire life. And this week's Torah portion is called Vayeshev, which means he dwelled, he settled. And the rabbis say that Jacob finally wanted to settle down. He wanted to relax. He wanted to retire from all these obstacles and accomplishments that he had to do. He says, Genug, Vifel Zashir, how much can I do it already? And Jacob decided to take it easy. And suddenly, out of the blue, jumps in the story of Joseph, where Joseph is sold into slavery by his own brothers, which we'll speak about during the week, which of course eventually leads Jacob down to exile to Egypt, which is part of the master plan where the Jews go to Egypt and elevate the sparks and come out and receive the Torah. But Rashi says something very fascinating. Rashi says, Bikesh Yaakov Leisha B'Shalva. Jacob just wanted some peace of mind. He just wanted to retire. He just wanted to sip a pina colada on the beach and relax and celebrate his family and celebrate his life and celebrate his love. And suddenly God says, is it not enough what I have for you? It's not enough what I have for you in the world to come, where you're going to relax and you're going to have the Garden of Eden. You want to relax here too. And then he's sending the story of Joseph. And sometimes it's hard to understand, what did God want from Jacob? All Jacob wanted was to relax. All Jacob wanted was to study Torah without troubles of engaging the world and having to fight these dark demons. Jacob just wanted, he didn't want to sit and do nothing. He wanted to be spiritual, but not have to impact the world in the way he was the whole time. And the answer, of course, is that God gives us a certain amount of years in this world. And every moment and every day that we have in the world is a moment to accomplish, is a moment to do. Retirement, my father always told me, he said, I'm tired, go to sleep. He says, you sleep after 120. The world we're in is a world where we have to make a difference, where we have to change and impact what goes on. And it's interesting because we just came from the founding of the Hasidic movement, which is a celebration we have, and one of the famous songs they sing is the Dalet Bavot. It's a beautiful song that has 4 stanzas. That is the most special song in Chabad, which we only sing at a chuppah by a wedding or at very auspicious times. And the reason it has 4 stanzas is because it represents the 4 worlds: the world of Atzilut, and the world of formation, and the world of creation, and the world of doing. And I'm not going to get into the details of some of the deepest insights of Chassidut about what the four worlds represent. But the idea is that the world we live in is called Olam HaAsiyah, the world of action. This is not a world for retirement. This is not a world for relaxation. Every moment we have, every gift that God gives us, another day to accomplish, is a time to make a difference in this world. And I want to tell you one of the most beautiful stories I heard this week from Rabbi Lau, who was the former chief rabbi of Israel. But before that, just one more thought. Earlier, about an hour ago, I was watching the Shloshim commemoration of Chief Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, which is very moving. And in the beginning, his wife spoke. And she spoke so profoundly about how all the letters she was getting and the lives he touched across the segments, across religions, across every far-flung place in the world and every idea, every type of person. And she said something so powerful, how comforting it's been. And then she said how she wishes that she could just walk up to his office where he would be sitting and writing another book, and she would tell him all these things. And she knows what he would answer. She says, he would tell me, that's amazing, but there's still so much work to be done. And that's the message that God was giving Jacob, and that's the message to all of us in our lives. This is not a world to relax. This is a world to impact, to make a difference, to change a life, to inspire someone, to love, to care for someone who's broken. That's the message that God gave Jacob and for all of us. And that's why the Rebbe always encouraged people never to retire. Because the Rebbe said as long as your mind is active and you're doing something meaningful that gives you meaning in your life, you stay young and you stay healthy. And when you retire, it's almost like you're saying, my job in this world is done, so what are you here for? That's a powerful message from the beginning of this week's Torah portion. And later in the week, we'll talk a little bit about the brothers and Joseph and selling him and some of the powerful messages that connect and hopefully into Hanukkah. But I want to tell you a story that I heard from my friend Rabbi Jacobson last night. And he said that last week there was a Zoom Bar Mitzvah for a big group of Israeli kids who, unfortunately, because Israel is in practically a lockdown, they can't have a Bar Mitzvah. And we all know what a Bar Mitzvah is for a child. It's the first milestone where they get to be recognized and they get to be, it's about them at their bris, at their upshurnish, at their baby naming. What do they know? It's not about them. It's about the parents. By the Bar Mitzvah, the kid gets up, he gives a speech, he reads from the Torah, etc. And it's hard when you're not able to do that. So he was giving Rabbi Lau, who we know survived Buchenwald, him and his brother literally carried him in a sack, his older brother. His whole family perished, his parents, uncles, aunts, everybody. And he came to Israel where he ended up rebuilding his family, Rabbi Lau, and becoming the chief rabbi who became one of the greatest orators of Torah and Judaism and inspiration to the Jewish people. So here he is on a call with these Bar Mitzvah boys who are devastated. They're not going to have a Bar Mitzvah the way they wanted, the way they dreamed, the way they envisioned because of the COVID. And he tells them, you want me to tell you? I want to tell you about my Bar Mitzvah, Rabbi Lau says. And this is the story that he says. He says, of course, you all heard about my story, the way I was in Buchenwald and lost my entire family, one of the youngest children to survive the Holocaust, and came with nothing to the land of Israel but an older brother who could barely take care of himself, never mind take care of me. But they found for us, we had a cousin or an uncle who lived in Kiryat Mochkin. And he took care of us and looked after the family and was like a father to us. And then it became time, I was getting older, and I was trying to find my identity, I had nothing, and it was time to prepare for my Bar Mitzvah. So my Bar Mitzvah was coming, and I think he said it was Parshas Shlach, which is in Numbers. And I prepared for 6 months. Every day I learned the Torah portion and how to say each note and where to stop and where to pause. This was going to be my special day, the first time I could shine. A survivor who was a survivor as a kid, had no family left. How am I ever going to be my own person? But here I was slowly becoming into somebody, and this was going to be special. My uncle knew this, and he reached out to people all over Israel to come celebrate this special week. Because how many young survivors were there? Unfortunately, 1.5 million Jewish kinderlach perished in the Holocaust. How many survivors were there my age? And because I was an orphan, without any parents, without any siblings except one, People from all over wanted to come. Now, the shul that we were in Kiryat Mochkin, there was an older guy. His name was Moshe. He was a broken man, didn't have much in his life. But there was one thing he did every week. He read the Torah every single week in the shul, and he prepared in detail every note. Imagine for him, this guy had nothing in his life. He had no joy. And imagine how it felt when someone came to him after the Torah reading and said, "Hey, Moshe, you did a great job. You got the notes right. Your voice was beautiful." That was his life. That was who he was, and that's what kept him going. And every week he read for years. And whenever there was a Bar Mitzvah, they would let him know a few weeks before, "Hey, there's a Bar Mitzvah this week." So the Bar Mitzvah boy will read the Torah. You don't have to read. And like this, he didn't have to prepare, and someone else would read. Here we are. Rabbi Lau was telling these Bar Mitzvah boys on Zoom, "I'm preparing for my Bar Mitzvah. My Bar Mitzvah is 6 months away. Every week I prepare diligently. The day finally comes. We arrive to the Bar Mitzvah. The shul is packed with people from all over Israel that came to celebrate it. Witness this moment where this child who was orphaned in the Holocaust and had nothing left is finally becoming a Bar Mitzvah and gets to have something to celebrate. And the shul's quiet, and it's time for the Torah reading. And I get up onto the bima, and I'm coming from one side to get up, this young Bar Mitzvah boy. I'm wearing my suit and my tie, all proud of what I did. And from the other side's coming up Moshe. I get up, and Moshe gets up to the Torah. And the Gabbai looks at Moshe and says, "Moshe, there's a Bar Mitzvah this week. Do me a favor. Someone else is reading." And Moshe looks at the Gabbai and says, "Well, guess what? No one told me. Usually they tell me a couple weeks in advance. No one told me. They forgot to tell me, and I prepared the Torah portion." So the Gabbai looks at him a little further and says, "Listen, guy, I get you, but now I'm telling you, ta'uf mipa, move." And Moshe says, "What do you mean? I read every week for free. I don't take anything for it. I work so hard. And finally the shul is packed. There's a few hundred people here, and I'm finally getting ready to get up. And you're telling me I can't read the Torah? What does that mean?" The Gabbai is getting frustrated. You can imagine. He wanted to throw this guy out of the shul. "What are you, crazy? There's a kid here. He's a Holocaust survivor. The guy has no parents. He's finally getting up here to celebrate his first time in the limelight, and you're trying to steal the show?" But suddenly, Rabbi Lau says to these kids, I looked at him, and I turned to the Gabbai and said, "Let me deal with it." And he said, I looked at this guy, Moshke, and I said, "Moshke, I know how much this means to you to read the Torah. You read every week. This is something that's so dear to you. I'm a young boy. I'm 13. I'm sure I'll have many opportunities to read from the Torah and to give speeches. You're an older man. This is special to you. Don't worry. You read, and I'll go off. I'll read another time." And with that, this 13-year-old child turns around, walks off the bima in front of everyone there, and allows Moshke to read. Rabbi Lau looks at these kids. He says, "You want to know what kind of Bar Mitzvah I had? That was the Bar Mitzvah I had." But what was his message to the boys? He said, "Listen, boy, was I right. Did I have so many other opportunities to read the Torah, to give speeches, to inspire others." Until today, Rabbi Lau was, I think, in his late 80s. Didn't retire. He's constantly giving talks. And after he became the chief rabbi of Israel, and he couldn't be the chief rabbi because I think there's term limits, he became the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv, and he still teaches every day and inspires. But this is the message he told his Bar Mitzvah boys. "I know you're sad. Today's your Bar Mitzvah. You want the party. You're not going to have it. But remember that there'll come a time. There'll be many more opportunities for you. You're young. Your life is ahead of you. And you'll get to celebrate." When I heard this story, as we told by my friend Rabbi Jacobson, and I recognized the message that Rabbi Lau sent to these kids, it was just so beautiful and so inspiring. And that's the message to us. Every day that God gives us is another day for us to inspire, to read the Torah, to teach, to give to others. By Yeshiv Yaakov, Jacob tried to dwell, he tried to rest, he tried to retire. God says, "You kidding me? That's in the world to come. This is the world of Asiyah, the world of doing. This is the world where we need to make a difference." And every moment that God gives us is for us to change the world and to be better people and to inspire others to be better and to make a difference and bring more light to the world we live in. God bless you and have a good day.